The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Yes, we are born to be alive. Welcome to Until Now with Rosie Pekar. You're listening on W4CY Radio. And for those that wish to join the conversation, just go to w4cy.com and click on the right-hand side and we'll be able to answer your questions as we go along. The purpose of the program has always been to talk to ordinary people with extraordinary experiences, and I certainly have a plethora, my word for the day, have that with me today with my guest, Vicki Shaw, who is a wealth strategist and an exciting individual who's got lots to share with us today. But however, I also want to be able to share that this is not just about wealth as a money mindset. This is about wealth and success and abundance and being able to access all that is yours by your divine birthright. And how do we go about doing that? So get yourself comfortable, and even though I was an ex-cop and I like to investigate and I like to get to the nuts and the nitty-gritty of how everything pieces together, some things are outside of our arena of understanding and control. However, the exciting bit about Vicki is that she let me know that you can go from nil to a mill really easily. This is for her a no-brainer. For someone like myself, it wasn't a no-brainer. I like to ride the money roller coaster, and I've got no doubt there'll be lots of others out there listening who are similar to myself. And I've got to tell you, I've been rich and I've been poor, and I'm here to say rich is far, far better, both in mind and in state of being. So welcome our guest today, Vicki Shaw.
Hi, Rosie.
Great to have you here.
Great to be here, Rosie.
And it's a loaded topic that we'll be doing, isn't it?
It is.
Because everyone in a mindset for money already carries maybe more baggage than money.
They do.
So,
well, are you going to tell the viewers that you just called me in and I haven't prepared for anything, so we'll just see how it goes? It's all natural.
Well, we don't need to. Because the important part for anyone listening is what's of value to them. And I guess the thing that I know that you deliver tremendously is what's of value to people, and in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity, really. If you haven't got pens and paper out, make sure you go and download the session later on.
Yeah.
And for those that want to join in live, as I said, just go over to the live chat window and ask your questions as we go along. But now for yourself, what you've experienced to this point in helping others to create wealth, what have you experienced has been the greatest difficulty most people present with?
They are the biggest problem. Money isn't the problem. They are, because they don't think either they deserve it or that they know how to get it or that they know what to do. And it's no different to thinking about what you need to make the cake and going to the supermarket and writing out the list. It's actually no different to that.
Having the right ingredients.
Exactly. What do you want? What do you want it for? So motivation is a great thing. If you don't have any motivation to do anything, that's exactly what it is. You don't have any motivation to do anything. So why do people buy houses? Because they want families. They want to put a roof over their children's heads, things like that. So I think the first thing to think about is, why do you want money?
Yep. Do you find that you have different tiers of clients because instantly coming to mind for myself is the people that, I know that you work with that have a lot of money, but a statement you made, how much, when is enough, in order to set your goalposts, or that keep shifting the goalposts once they've kicked the goal and move it to a new location. Or there are those that have got lots of motivation, but it's like the little rat on the treadmill or the granny in the rocking chair. You can go furiously for quite a period of time, but you actually go nowhere. with that energy. And we all know people who get busy and busy, but that busy is not generating anything except for more busyness.
Mm-hmm. I'm sort of just trying to understand what you just said then.
Okay, different types of clients that you would see. This is what I'm assuming. I don't work in the arena of creating monetary wealth. I work in the arena of creating mental, emotional, physical wealth. But as that fills out, it's like air in the kitchen. It tends to flow in the other areas.
Yeah.
It goes into, funnily, I'm not a relationship expert, and I'm a divorced single woman.
Yeah.
However, I'm always asked about relationships.
Yeah.
And I say to people, what do you want to know? How to be divorced and single?
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm a walking example of.
Yeah.
You yourself are able to teach people how to be millionaires because that's what you are. That's the energy that you run in.
Yeah.
So I always say to people, go to who's got what you want.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
To get those answers.
Yeah.
But I'm also in that I'm sort of assuming from my experience, because I deal with lots of people from different walks of life, different experiences in life, that would sit there, and because they come up with the buts, those bloody useless thoughts, I'm well acquainted with a lot of people's buts, and I would have had them myself, a lot of loaded, bloody useless thoughts.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm sort of trying to, eke out what would be, even though you deal with varied people, or you find that you deal with the same sort of people all the time.
So I deal with people who want to make money, but my strategy is through property.
Yes.
So, why would you, the strategy is property because everybody understands it. Even if you don't own a house, you understand how it works, because you either live in it as a tenant or you live in it as an owner. So you understand how it works. If you're the tenant, you pay rent to the owner, and that's how he's making his money.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in it, it puts the roof over your head, but you're making money through its capital growth.
Yes.
So the reason why I dwell on property is because you understand it, and everybody wants one. So houses don't go bust. Businesses go bust. Houses do not go bust. We buy that product because it's highly unlikely to go bust, and everybody wants one. So if you're selling a unique product yourself, it could be anything. Let's say a rock. Well, not everybody wants one. Not everybody wants a rock. But
until it's made a pet rock.
Well, that's right. But everybody wants to live in a house. So what happens, I think, with people is, and I do get lots of different people and lots of different clients, and it doesn't matter how rich they are, they still have to learn what to do with their money.
Yes.
And still, the richest people on earth don't know what to do with their money. So, the thing is, what I find with people is they're so motivated to go and get married, they're so motivated to have children, that's their motivation for buying a house and putting a roof over their head. Now, what I find is that when it comes to buying a second house and doing that again, their training has never put them into the second property position mentally. So they can go and buy 10 houses, because if they did it once, they can do it 10 times. I don't advise anybody do it more than 10 times, by the way, and I don't promote anybody having 100 homes. There's different ways to do it. There's different ways to skin a cat. There's different ways to do things. So I don't suggest anybody go and buy more than 5 homes. What I suggest you do is, once you get into that group, is to just buy better. Just exchange the first one for a better one. Buy in a better suburb or a better town or a better house.
Luckily, we're not talking relationships. Let's update to the newest.
Well, we are talking relationships, because your relationship with money determines where you go.
Exactly.
With it.
And it also clearly determines, money is the biggest, I think, sticky and prickly factor for most human beings walking the planet.
Well, it's probably because people rate themselves on how much they have.
Yes, that's erroneous value.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So the thing is, I'll just say to the whole audience right here and now, if you did it once, you can do it again. You can't learn to ride a bike and then forget. It doesn't work that way. The thing that's stopping you from having 2 or 3 is your fear factor and your belief that you shouldn't, or you couldn't, or you don't want a mortgage around your neck. But the mortgage is equal to an asset that you actually hold. The bank doesn't own your house. That's just a myth. The bank does not own your house. You go to the bank, you say, I'd like to borrow $400,000. And the bank goes, yeah, fine, but I don't know you, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And guess what? The bank will give you 80% of what you want. And by the way, the bank just says, well, just give me 20%. That'll be fine. No worries at all. They sign it off. You get the loan. You go and buy whatever you want. The bank doesn't come with you, do they? Does the bank go with you to buy the house? No. Does the bank knock on the door and say, don't paint it, don't rent it out, don't live in it, don't do anything? You never see the bank again. What actually happens is you say to the bank, well, I'm going to borrow that $400,000, but what I'll do is I'll actually give you the house as security. So if I play up, because you don't really know me, so if I play up and I can't pay the money back, you just come and take the house. So as long as you're not playing up, they don't want to know. They're not real estate agents. Banks aren't real estate agents. So the bank that you go to borrow the money is your silent partner. Mm-hmm. And God love the bank, because where would you be without a bank? Am I going to lend you $400,000? No.
Well, prior to getting to the bank stage and going back to the earlier common denominator, you said the most common problem with everyone would be themselves.
That's right.
So we'll deal with the realm of mindset because, being an international program, there's lots of different banking strategies all around the globe.
Sure.
So rather than deal with that in that short period of time, let's deal with what everyone's got access to, which is themselves and their mindset. Mm-hmm. So the most common problem that you encounter first within, and again, I'm assuming there is, say, 1, 2, 3, top 3 most regularly played common problems that you encounter amongst people. You might correct me here and say, no, Rose, there aren't top 3. So I'm just curious, what would be the most common mindset issue that you see with people?
They don't think they can borrow the money. And the best way to overcome that is go to a bank and ask.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so this is really simple.
Yes.
It is absolutely simple stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so I flip houses, all right? And it is absolutely no different to going into a market and buying a teapot for $1, taking it home and polishing it and selling it for $2.
Yep.
It is
now,
no
for
different.
our listeners, flip houses simply means?
It means to buy and improve them and sell them.
Exactly. So, and I've seen her work at hand, and I mean, she's amazing and it's all what I would consider top end, and that's what I love is, the opportunity for the everyday average person to see how they can make real things better for themselves. Now, someone asked me a question just very recently, sent it in privately, and if you have got questions, go to w4cy.com, and on the right-hand side, you can click on Join the Conversation. This person asked me, okay, I've got all that I need in money and success and in that arena. However, for 20 plus years, I haven't got the right relationship. I travel on my own, I eat on my own. How do I translate that wealth across to that wealth? And what we're sharing today is the same tools. You've just put a different product or end result or outcome at the end of the line, be it money, be it relationship, be it health, be it well-being, whatever it is that you put as that ideal outcome, the tools will always require the change within yourself, not the change within your circumstances first. And that's what we're discussing here today with Vicki Shaw, who is a wealth strategist. So together with me, who is a mind and belief strategist, if we haven't got the tools and the goals in order for you to move from where you currently are to where you say you want to be, then I don't know who has. And as one person has asked, how can it apply to anything? Well, I use the term frequency. Is that a term that you would use?
Yeah, but also the thing is, if you want anything, if we take relationships and money out of this problem, if you want anything, if you want to go and buy a car, what's the first thing you do? You go and look for you pick a car, don't you?
Exactly.
Then you go to the car shop. Then you go to the car dealer and ask him questions. Now, it's absolutely no different with money, your strategy for money, making money.
Or for relationships.
And in relationships, the problem there is if you're focused on being a painter, you will paint. If you're focused on relationships but doing nothing about it, it means you're not focused on it. So you've got to focus on what you want.
Well, some people don't do nothing about it. In this, I simply I made sure there were some points that I really wanted to get across to answer this question that I was asked before. And the important thing is knowing what you want. It's a personal quest that we've already stated very clearly. It starts with you. Now, there are two separate states. One is knowing what you want. The other is knowing what you don't want. Mm. And I meet a lot of people who know what they don't want. And this person was an ideal example for that. And I get this when I do workshops and programs. There'll always be one person who, as we keep talking, everyone's having their aha moment. and they're getting what we're saying and the language we're using, and they're starting to nod and laugh and smile because they've got that recognition of what's happening in their own lives. And there's always that one person who works as a great example and teacher to all others who simply still isn't getting it and isn't picking up on the words or picking up on the language. The importance is not the words that we use, it's the feeling that demonstrates the belief back of things. So, for example, I could talk about that I want a particular thing, like this person's talking about wanting a relationship. Their focus is not on what they want. Their focus is actually on what's unwanted, the fact that they haven't had a relationship for 20 years, that they're travelling on their own, how miserable and horrible it is, how they can't stand it. So when you focus on unwanted, that's the magnet.
Okay, well, a really good thing is, if you want to learn to play tennis, you don't hang around the snooker hall. Okay, so if you've got a list of high priorities in a relationship, okay, so if you don't want rubbish, don't hang around the bin. The other thing is, it amazes me. I worked for an airline for 20 years. I travelled for 20 years around the world. And it amazes me when people say, I have to go on holiday on my own. Well, actually, you don't have to go on holiday on your own. There are a million people out there who will go. You just got to open your mind a little bit more. And a great place to meet people is on holiday. So I'd say open the windows to your life and your mind, and things will start happening. I think that what happens is when people are single or they're not in relationships, they close down a little bit. But what we want to do is stay open, get rid of the list. Get rid of the list, let the universe or whoever, whatever, let it put in front of you. 1,000 people a day is what you'll run into if you go outside your door.
And that's the important thing. I said, your job is not necessarily to know how to do things. Those specifics come about as you start demonstrating your interest in the particular thing. The how gets worked out along the way.
Well, I have a girlfriend, she's around 58 years old. She's the same age as me. She's on her own and she wants the same thing. She wants a relationship, she wants this, she wants that. And I said to her one day, I've met someone who I think it would be lovely for you to meet. In whatever way, it doesn't matter, it would be lovely for you to meet. Well, instantly I noticed. Instantly she said, well, what does he look like? I don't like bald. Well, I don't like that height. Well, what does he do? Well, why is he single? So it wasn't fabulous. I'd love a new friend. That wasn't the response. The response was, well, what if he doesn't have this? What if he doesn't have... So straight away she shot him down in flames. And I said, don't worry about it. I'll introduce this wonderful guy to someone else. So the problem is she has put the wall up like most people do before you even get in the door, in the arena.
Exactly. And that's what I was getting towards, is that your job is to get to the state of feeling good about what it is you want instead of feeling bad about that it's lacking or non-existent or how you put that wall up to not let it in. Because once you start to feel good, and you know whether you feel good because when you think of what you want, does it excite you? Does it give you clarity? Do you feel like it's something you can attain? Does it inspire your imagination, your innovation and your own intelligence? Does it instill confidence, purpose and passion? But they're all indicators.
Well, the other thing is, are you everything that you've got on your list? So, you've got a list of, I want this, I want that, I want this. Well, are you there?
Yes.
So I did turn around to another girlfriend who said exactly the same thing and said, well, you've got a list of demands. What would you be on their list? Would you be on a list? Would you rate in that way? And
that's a really great point
for
people to hear, because they'll always, complain about what's coming in the door, not realising it's a two-way street. It's coming in the door because it's an exact match. It's a perfect identikit.
Yeah.
So should it excite you? Well, I would like to think that you're here living your life. Every single day is the currency of the life that you are living. If it's not exciting you, if it's not delighting you, if it's not inspiring you, I'd say get a better dream.
Well, time is the currency, isn't it? There's no present like the time, is there? Okay, so time is the currency in anything. So I think the problem that we have is we all think that we're going to go on forever, but we're not. And one day you wake up, you're 80, you're in the nursing home and you go, oh, my God, where did it go? I should have done this and I should have done that. And you could have, at any time, you could have done anything. And if you're in a bad relationship, you put yourself in it. Get out of it.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't need it. You don't need it.
And that's for those fortunate that get to wake up at 80. Because many don't make it to 80, as we're discovering a lot that have passed before 50 and those that are passing before 30. Or, so none of us have got a definitive use-by date.
Absolutely not.
So, and many of us, as we get longer in the tooth, as the saying goes, or have lived a few more years, we start to realise the value of things that you don't put a price tag onto, that add onto our life, that does excite us. And again, I don't know a single person who wakes up bounding out of bed going, oh, I'm delighted, oh, I'm excited, oh, I can't. And, we tend to hate being around those people because sometimes it makes us feel a little bit inadequate, that we're not quite up to that level of joyousness, especially when we're feeling ordinary or crappy or disappointed.
So I had a really great case the other day, and the guy came to me. He is a manager in an iconic Australian company. I won't mention it, but he's very high up in the company, and he runs hundreds and hundreds of people. He's in charge of hundreds of $1 million worth of product. And when he goes to work, he's the boss. That's it. When he gets home, suddenly he is not the boss anymore. That brain is left at the door. I don't know if I spoke to you about this the other day, did I, Rosie?
You might have.
I might have touched on it, yeah. Okay, and he came to me because he tells me that his wife is thinking of committing suicide, she's thinking of leaving him, she's this, she's that, and I was absolutely horrified. So I said, well, why aren't you taking charge? Why aren't you taking control? Why aren't you doing what you do at work? There's a problem. Go in to fix it. What you're actually doing is you're losing your management brain at the door of the family home, and she's your rock, but you're not her rock. She has nowhere to go. So she wants to kill herself because she can't lean on you. You're leaning on her because you're frightened that she'll leave you. So you don't have any belief in yourself. When it comes to the family, she's looking to rely on you, that you've handed all responsibility over to her. When you leave the family home, suddenly you're a force to be reckoned with. And I found that really, really interesting. In that conversation, he snapped. He went home and he stood up and he said, things are going to change. This is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to work. Suddenly his wife went, hallelujah, and their marriage is back on track.
Yep. And the question we've been asked is that such a bad thing? Well, we're not here to determine what's good and bad in your life. That's what you're to do. Lucky I'm professional at speaking. That's what you are to determine within your own life. Is this, whatever the relationship is with, be it, those loved ones around you, be it with your financial circumstances, be it with your own personal health and well-being, is it leading to you feeling good on a daily basis, or is it leading to you feeling tired, exhausted, negative, full of rebuttals, resistance to the very things that you say that you want? That to me is not living life. That to me is existing through life, and there's a vast difference between the two different states. So that's the only intention for today, is we're using the medium of money in order to identify knowing what you want, and also if you know what you don't want, how to get off that trap that you keep rerunning. And that's what I call a rut, repeating those useless thoughts. And as I explained earlier, the gentleman that asked the question about, being single for 20 plus years, and I've got loads of texts, and I know he'll be listening to this at a later date. Every one of those texts still keeps reiterating the same problem, but I use the words frequency, I use the word vibration, and I think I might have confused the mix with the use of those words. So I just want to clarify for listeners, because I do use those words regularly. Frequency simply means going at a faster speed. Like you turn your fan on, it can go on a slow speed and you can see those blades going round. Turn it on super fast, you don't see it, but you know it sure as hell is moving. When we're on a faster frequency, it's lighter and it's easier, it's effortless. We know the feeling state of it. When you're on a slower frequency, it's harder, it requires effort, it is difficult and it is challenging. And how you can change it up to be different is by knowing what you want, paying attention to what you want. And attention is that key word. That's what you speak about, that's what you talk about, that's what you research and investigate and look towards and put your intention and your intent towards. So here we're using that medium of money in discussing that, and that's what Vicki is sharing her expertise about, how people shift that focus to redirect within their lives. So redirecting, 3 tools would you use to get someone to identify where they're at to move towards where they want to be?
Well, your body tells you. Your feelings tell you. They're the indicators. It's not really difficult. You know when you're happy. You know when you're sad. You know what you want. If I said to you, do you want steak or chips for dinner, you'd know the answer. If I said to you, do you want $10 or $5, you'd know the answer.
And that's us, because we're very definitive, direct women, and, we're not afraid of speaking up in such cases. There are many that aren't in that same energy frequency. Now, it's like you were, in flights for a long period of time. So flying at 10,000 feet, you're not going to meet people who are crawling 34,000 feet. But those different levels, whatever level you're on, be it 0 level, 10,000 feet, 34,000 feet, or out in the stratosphere, you are only going to meet what is on your same flight path. And that flight path is the choice. The other thing too is that it's all well and good to go to seminars where people go, you can make $1 million, you can make $500 million, you can be a billionaire. But, everybody had to be the tea lady. You are not born a doctor, lawyer. You are not born a millionaire or a multimillionaire. Most of us. I talk for the majority of us. Yes. Okay, I'm a wealth strategist at street level. Yes. So the thing is, the point I make there is you're not born with a house either or an education. Okay, so everything that you get once you're born, you go and learn to acquire. Where do you get an education? You go to school. Now, the problem I find with a lot of clients who come to me is that, well, I'm too frightened to ask the bank. I know they won't lend me the money. Well, why don't you try it? Why don't you go to the bank and try it? So if you want to borrow $400,000 to buy a house or a boat or whatever, go to the bank and ask them what they need. Ask them, what would it take for you to lend me $400,000 for me to have whatever I want? Now, that's the product that you use to make you money, to give you passive income, to have a happy financial life. But life isn't about money. Okay, money is the thing that feeds us, clothes us, so it is a necessity. It's a great tool. It is. A sense of freedom and fulfillment. And, unfortunately, it is a value within society, whether we choose to look at it.
Well, it's a system.
Or not.
It is a system. Yes, it is a chosen system, as is tax. Here's what we're going to do. Pay tax will provide the police force and an army and blah, 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 blah. So the thing is, in anything in life, even in relationships, in anything you do, here's where you come unstuck. You come unstuck because you fear of money and you fear of a partner or the relationship. Anything else is you will not come unstuck with, because a piece of steak or a car won't argue back. By the way, houses don't argue back either. So inanimate objects do not argue back. But for the man who's been single for 20 years, okay, his focus is wrong, or his thought or belief about it is wrong. What's he attracting? If you're fishing and you're not catching, what bait are you using, and are you using any, and what are you doing? Yeah. If you are in a world where there's more than 7 billion people and you can't connect with just one of them, do you think the problem's yours?
Exactly. And the thing is that we can look at ourselves as successful in so many other arenas. However, and I'm quite sure this person will say, but they're looking at themselves, and the question here is, how do you know what the right bait is? Well, the right bait is you. The right answer is real. You. The right focus is you. It comes down to, I use a really simple process of identify and rectify. If you can't see it, you can't face it to replace it. So once you've identified, okay, the problem's in me, let's start with something small that's easy to fix. Like, let's not race out and change the world overnight. That's 7 billion people and a lot of individuals to attack. However, if I identify it in me and I change it in me, so, for example, I can say, okay, Rosie, what's an issue personally? It's hard when you think on the spot. Because I'm not in a relationship, but I choose not to be in a relationship, but I'm happily single. And there's a big difference, because I know a lot of girlfriends that are unhappily single. But for me, the difference is not feeling I need that to be fulfilled. And I think that's my key distinction that I want to make. And that was the point that they were making, is they made the statement, I will never feel fulfilled unless I have, be it partner, be it spouse, be it, the $1 million in the bank account, be it that flash car, be it, whatever it is that you need to feel fulfilled, that's putting the cart before the horse, or arse about, as we say here in Australia. You've got it arse up, because your feeling states comes first. Once you feel fulfilled in what you're doing, like I enjoy relationships, with male friends and female friends. Now, let's not get racy here. I'm not talking about swinging. I'm talking about that I enjoy if I'm having dinner with whoever I'm having dinner with. I enjoy laughing with whoever I'm laughing with, be it, a 6-month-old baby that's gurgling and spitting, or be it an 80-year-old woman who's, might be gurgling and spitting. I'm finding enjoyment and milking every moment, and that adds to my fulfillment, patting a furry friend. It makes no difference where you get it from, so long as you get it. And lots of people, you raised that important point earlier, a lot of people are putting resistance up, but in a particular aspect.
Yeah, so we're all the same. Human beings are all the same. Let's agree on that, okay? You and I both got 2 arms, 2 legs, and a brain.
Not everyone's got 2 arms, 2 legs. But the control... or a brain.
Well, okay, but I'm just talking standard. I'm just talking generally. No, but yes, you are cheeky and naughty, but for the sake of this conversation, okay? So if your mindset is the control center, okay? So your mindset. So if my mind is set that I could swim across that river that Rosie and I are looking at, I will swim across it, won't I? If my mindset is it's too cold, I wouldn't like it, I won't do it, I won't. So it's your mindset. So if you're looking for a relationship, or you're looking for money, or you're looking for wealth, what is your mindset? Is your mindset with, well, I won't get it, he won't like me, I don't know that I'll like him? If that's how you're starting, you're on a losing battle. So if we look at the successful people in the world, the difference between them, and this is an old story, we can't hear this enough, but the bottom line is they said, I'd like to do this, I'm going to do it, and they believed that they could. And that's the difference between success and failure. It's just believing that you can.
Exactly. And also, when you feel good, it's your invitation, talking back on an energy frequency, because, the heart has far more energy, 10,000 times more electromagnetic energy than the brain. So the heart is more a stronger puller and a greater indicator, because we do things and we aspire to get the things that at the end of the day we think will make us feel good. So we're driven by feelings far more than we're driven by mindsets. As we've seen, people experiencing road rage, they go from intelligent, clever human beings to idiotic morons and maniacs in a millisecond, just by how they feel in the moment. So the more that we increase our frequency, which is fly higher and fly faster, and I use that language just to get used to it as an easy means to identify, that's your invitation for more that's all on that same level. It's like, when you go to the supermarket, you find in one aisle all the junk food, all the crap and all the crud. If you're in that aisle, that's what's in there. You can go to another aisle that is all the vegetables, or another aisle that's all the meat, or another aisle that's all the dairy products. They're sort of set up specifically for ease and convenience. So too, in many ways, is our life. It's set up for ease and convenience, but it's us who puts us in that flow.
But I also know, Rosie, that a lot of the times what comes up in my meetings with clients is that what will someone think? What will someone else think? What will my parents think? What will my sister think? What will my husband think? The thing is, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks, it's what you think, because if you like it, if you want it, if it makes you happy, everybody else will be happy. There's a difference between asking an opinion of someone just to get a general idea and doing it because everybody else wants you to do it. There's a huge difference. And the thing is, it's your life.
Exactly. A common phrase I say to my son, and I speak in schools as well as corporate businesses globally and have done for years, and one statement I always make on stage is, what other people think of you is none of your business. And it's none of your business, because if you incorporate it, and that word incorporate is loaded, because we are internal beings that exteriorize. So what you've got going on in the inside soon reveals itself on the outside. So if we incorporate it, we take it in, we soon buy into it and manifest that belief as true. So if someone's believing in you that you're amazing, incredible and sensational and spectacular and world-class, by all means, incorporate that. It works to your advantage and it feels good. If someone's got a different belief, that's where I guess in the US what they'd say is talk to the hand.
Yeah, but, if you're in the place or the zone you want to be in, you put yourself there, and you've got the power to put yourself out of it as well. You've got the power to do anything.
Exactly. Now, for those listening, you're listening to W4CY Radio on Until Now with Rosie Pekar, and we're talking with Vicki Shaw, and we're talking specifics on wealth strategies, how to get that money mindset, making it happen for you. If you've got some questions, go across to w4cy.com and click on the link on the right-hand side, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. So thank you for that. We love the show. Thank you. Well, thank you. We love adulation, admiration and adoration. Don't we, Vicki?
We do. We love it.
So as I said, your job is to know what it is that you want. And if your focus is on what you don't want, that will feel bad. If your focus is on lack, if your focus is on dreams that are dead, or you're listening to dream haters, dream takers or dream negators, then that's what becomes very tired and very old fast. That doesn't fulfill us or fill us up. So these people exist everywhere. Our role is not to be one of them. Our role is to be that ordinary person with an extraordinary experience. And with that comment, I'd just like to ask Vicki, what has been her most extraordinary experience that she can share with us today? I love putting everyone on the spot. Anything, whatever you think, what would be your most extraordinary experience that you've encountered in working with a client today in wealth strategy?
Extraordinary experience. I don't know that they're extraordinary, but I think that because I've been doing this for 40 years, can you believe that, Rosie?
No. If you could see her, she's as glamorous and gorgeous as I myself. We're Bobsy twins and soul sisters, without a doubt.
I think what's extraordinary, really, I'm just going to say generally, what's extraordinary is the lack of belief people have in themselves, and how you could ask one person if he could climb Mount Everest, and he can, but he can't come back and go to the bank and ask for a loan, or he can't go into a party and chat up a lovely woman or someone like that. So where they're great on the roundabout, they collapse at the swings. I think the most extraordinary thing to me is the lack of belief in people that people have in themselves.
And again, you know, that's many, many shows to cover all of that topics. And as I'm just reading here some of the comments, we're learning stuff here. And how do we get to know what we want? Well, as I said, you know, you've got a feel-good indicator, your feelings. Really, really simple.
I think someone has asked us, how do we know what the right bait is?
That was previously.
Oh, I do apologise. Sorry, Rosie.
So now, how do we get what we want? Well, I've gone on specifically the key is focus.
Know what you want. And the other thing is, if you don't have a target, how do you know what to aim for? So know what you want. But the thing is, be positive. But as Zig Ziglar once said, no matter how positive you are, you will not jump from the 50th story of a building and live. So there's ridiculousness.
Well, again, now that's an area that I'll go in the challenge to have a little bit of fun with, but we haven't got enough time on that one because, again, I also come from a background where, you know, belief is phenomenal and we operate man-mind, and there's a world of difference between man-mind and what I call God-mind and what those two realities are. That's where the conversation of how to bring heaven on earth whilst we are manifest and physical. So that's a whole other topic onto itself. However, for today's purpose, we're talking about finding our focus, feeling good as we find our focus, pay attention and appreciate, and even, you know, to fine-tune it is you yourself personally knowing your wants, not someone else's wants or what you're told to do.
So I've got a really good starter, because I call myself at street level. I'm a wealth strategist at street level. So a really good starting point for anybody on anything is to get a pen and a paper and just write down a little list, just a little list. We don't want you to own 200 houses tomorrow and have 300 relationships. It's just a little list. That will happen in the end.
We have to put a disclaimer out on Until Now. We are not responsible for any...
So just a little list. Think of one thing in your life, one thing today that you really wish wasn't in it or was in it. And then have a little list next to that. Well, how would I clear that out of my life, or how would I bring it into my life? And are you somebody that... two things here. Are you somebody that if you ran into me in the street that I would lend you money, and are you somebody that I would like to go out with? So two things.
Yeah, definitely answer those questions. I don't get caught up in the how at this stage, though. because that's where people bring themselves undone, because they just, it's like getting a little bit of a flame burning in that fire you're trying to get stoked, and then all of a sudden, before it's even built up any momentum, they're overloading with such big logs and feeling overwhelmed already. It doesn't get burning. So the how is the universe's job and will provide. If you get clear on what it is that you want and take your focus off what's unwanted, which is that talking about the lack, the problems, the resistance, the difficulty, the demands of others, if you take your focus off that and suspend disbelief just for the interim and put this to the test, don't accept anything I say or anything anybody else says as, verbatim, and this is, the guru, the master that says all. It's put it to the test for yourself. It's like baking any cake. If you pour arsenic in it,
so if you want a different outcome, do a different thing. That's it. It's simple.
It's that old, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
If what you're doing isn't working, do something different.
However, before we actually take action, it's a thought, because many people get busy and are jumping into an action. All of a sudden they sign up for all the dating clubs, they sign up for all the web seminars, to do with making money. They join in. And if you get clear first, if you're excited to do that, by all means, go ahead and do it. Because at the very least, you'll have experienced excitement in your life. And that's an elevation. And a little elevation in thought leads to a lot of elevation in life. So it's just that little impetus. And don't worry if that elevation disappears, because people say, Rosie, I went to a motivational program or an inspirational program, and yep, I was driven and excited, and that was wonderful for all of a week. And then I was back to where I started from. And I thought, well, do you breathe just once for the day? Do you eat only once for the month? Some of us maybe do. Some of those skinny models possibly do. I don't. You do this regularly. Find out what it is that inspires you regularly.
Well, I think on that note, what people do is, because I've had that, people feed from my positiveness, from my bubbliness, from my attitude. People, when they're with me, feed from that. So what they're actually doing is they're not learning how to do it themselves. They're feeding from it when they're in the room with me. When they walk out of my positive zone, they're back into their zone. But the idea is, when you go and listen to a speaker who's saying something positive, is to really think about what they're saying. Don't sit there and think about how great they are. Just think about what they're saying is great and apply it to you. So when you walk out of that room, just apply that thought to you. Walk out with that thought about you, not the thought about how great they were. Because you can be just as great.
And that's a wonderful skill that both Vicki and I have in common, is that we don't attract clients to remain as clients forever and a day. We attract clients so that they can lose us, that they discover they have no use for us anymore. That's our perfect end result.
We're teaching to fish.
Exactly, because if you can embody it independently, then you share that. You share it by how you live your life. It's not the words that you speak. It's the life that you live that is the true example. That's what's meant by the way. It's demonstrated every single day in every moment. So imagine if there's a counter on your brain and it ticks off every time you have a negative thought. Imagine if it's clicking off on all those difficult, challenging moments. How much of your day is spent flying high in a nice, great, easy, light space, or how much of it is stuck in the muck and mire and difficulty, just try to get out?
So really, really great question I ask my clients is this: would you want the life you've chosen for yourself or anybody else?
Oh, yeah, that's what I say from my girlfriend for relationships.
Now, another question I ask is, I can remember once a lady came to me and she said, if I won $2 million in lotto, I'd give my husband $1 million, I'd keep $1 million, and I'd tell him to get lost. And I said, why do you need to win $2 million to do that? Why don't you just do it? She said, oh, I couldn't do it. I need money to do it. And I said, okay, if your daughter was married to your husband, what advice would you give her? She said, I'd tell her to run. I said, well, you just answered and solved your own problem.
Exactly. So you've got to be your own best friend. So the partner you've got, is that the partner you wish on your best friend?
So the advice you're listening to and what you're presenting to the world, is that the advice you'd give your daughter or your son? Is that how you want them to present themselves? If you want someone who stepped up, step up yourself.
Exactly. And that's the, identifying, because the question is, how can we stop the negative in our thoughts? Well, it's identifying, do you love yourself enough to be that kind of best friend and mother, nurturer, father, carer to yourself as you would be to other individuals. You know, we're all too willing to step in and give advice to other people, wanting the best for them, but are we willing to do that for ourselves? And I know that's always easy to say. I had it with myself, you know. I had a premature baby, and at the time, you know, difficult circumstances, and I was making the same excuses. When I get enough money, you know, when I get this right, when I get enough sleep, when I get enough time, you know, and I realised it was draining the very life out of me in dealing with that every single day. So what I had to do is I had to take what I found at the time, a very difficult circumstance, and put a positive spin on it. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm ignoring what's going on. It means I'm looking at now with a new aha moment. I'm seeing the same stuff, but with a different mindset. And when you see the same stuff, but with a lighter attitude, all of a sudden it allows you to become free from it and not a moment before. And that's what's up to each of us individually to be able to identify and to find. Now, if you had, you know, your last 2 minutes passing words of wisdom for our listeners today on adopting a money mindset that matters most to them, what 3 things would you give them? I'm so sorry, Rosie, just tell me that again. If you had 2 minutes to share 3 money mindset makeovers, what would they be?
Well, there's a formula to make a cocktail, isn't there?
Yes.
You know, there's a bit of vodka, a bit of this and a bit of that. There's your cocktail, isn't there? There's a formula to make anything. So when it comes to money, if you don't have any, you need to borrow it. And there's only 3 ingredients that you need to borrow money. You need a job because you have to show you can pay it back. You need something to buy, to spend the money on that'll make you money, and you need somewhere to go to borrow it. So there's the 3 ingredients. So you have to have a job to borrow the money. You have to have something to buy with the money you borrow that will make you money, and you have to have a bank or someone to go to borrow the money.
Okay.
You with me?
Yes,
that's a little cocktail.
And exactly. And the cocktail for, you know, increasing your success within your own life, I would say very simply is, as we identified earlier, to know what it is that you want. So take the time out. You're worth it to invest in writing that list. It can be a short list that you add on to. As I originally tell people, do 110 people you want to meet, places you want to go, fun stuff, wild stuff, incredible stuff, amazing stuff. Let that list be something that is fun and enjoyable. You never know where it'll lead you.
I've got a really great question, and that is that why don't you deserve it? So writing out a list that says, you know, you do deserve it, I'd like to know why someone thinks they don't deserve it.
Exactly, and that's what we do in Kick Butt, because as soon as you've identified it, the next stop is those buts, the bloody useless thoughts. So every time you say, I could do that, but that's identifying to you your own limit that you put on yourself just in your energetic perspective. So if you say, oh, I always keep meeting, or I always keep running across, or this always happens, well, you're pre-paving, because this is a blank slate time. This is a blank canvas. There is nothing that's gone before. You are in a new moment. That's why it's called now.
Well, in the words of Michael Caine, he said, you want a different outcome, reinvent yourself. Become a different person. So you might have been the ABC person, now be the XYZ person and see the difference. If what you're doing isn't working for you, do something different. It's really simple. It's not hard. If it's easier to go road A to get to B, then go road A. Why are we taking the hard road?
Exactly, because again, it's something that's been ingrained that is worthy. People who struggle or have sacrifice or difficulty, you know, it's a common mindset that a lot of people have bought into. And we're now shaking and challenging
that. But mindset can be changed.
Exactly.
Okay, let's make it an uncommon mindset. Let's say, as of today, of this minute, yes, I'm actually going to take a different road to where I want to go. And actually, I might have a different destination as well.
And I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and say, g'day, gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I'm going to identify all that I love and admire and adore, and it all starts with me first and foremost, not anyone outside of me.
Yeah, because if you're happy, everybody in your family and everybody around you will be happy.
Exactly. Now, for those that have been listening, if you want, there's loads more audio and programs available at www.kickbutt, but it's not the butt that you sit on. This is the butt in your head, bloody useless thoughts. It's spelled with 1 T. Otherwise, you go to a whole other website, and I don't know what you're going to get a hold of. So that's kickbutt.com.au, and if you haven't worked it out after listening for 50 minutes, we're both Aussies. So, yes, it's the Australian accent. And our final question is, how do you know what you have to do different? Well, that's for you to identify. So make your list of what you want, identify your buts, why you don't have it at this moment, and tune in next week and we'll see if we can answer some more of your questions. But until now, you've been where you've been and where you're at, and I've stopped my clock accidentally. Thank you for this show. Well, thank you for joining us. But if you've got any questions, send them through. You can access on Facebook. Remember to like us, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I think I'm all over the place. And you can listen to any other prior programs that have gone before. But we look forward to talking to you next week. And lots of love sent from me. And Vicky's final words.
Okay, thanks, Rosie. Yeah, love yourself. There's my final words. Love yourself. You're worth it.
Most definitely. If you don't realise you're the best investment you're ever going to get, you don't know a good deal when you've got one. You've been listening to Until Now with Rosie Pekar on W4CY.com or radio, and we'll talk to you next week.